Welcome to the second quarterly webinar, everyone. We're going to cover a few things tonight, so I'm excited to get started. It should be a very interesting webinar. So we're going to be covering the scorecards, why they're needed, and how they're tracked, what's still outstanding from 2015 and 2016, and some upcoming due dates. Programs is here to talk about the new Canadian Path and how you can implement those program features at the Scouts Canada properties, whether it be a vacant land or a full-out Scout reserve. Also, how you could tie in a regular Scout meeting to the property. We're going to complete a scorecard together. This is for the new 2016-2017 scorecard in the workbook. We're going to talk about some great fire safety equipment deals. At the end of it, we're going to talk about the next phase project, which is underway. So for our 2015-2016 scorecards, which were due on August 31st, they are still unfortunately underway of being completed and reaching 100% compliance. So across Canada, we have 231 active properties. This ranged from scouting halls, vacant land, scout reserves, really everything and anything you could think of. Currently, to reach 100% compliance, we only have 21% across Canada, so that's 49 properties Canada-wide. And if you break them down further, that's 21 council-run properties and 28 group-run properties. So that's not much. We really want to work on improving this within the next week or two. It is imperative that we get these finished. The new scorecards are coming up due, and just because you didn't finish this one doesn't mean the next one won't be due. So if you're wondering how we get these numbers, we track the progress in 3 different areas. So the first one, scorecard, is submitted. We put this in as submitted and completed on the scorecard front, and it's divided up into group run and council run. The next part of it is the support materials that were due last year. There's 21 potential support materials. If something deems not to be applicable, we ended up putting that as completed, so it counts. Then this moves, once 21 documents are received, it moves to completed. And the final phase is 100% completion. So once we have a submitted scorecard and all the support materials, you are marked as complete. So looking at these scorecards submitted so far, for the 2015-2016, you can see it ranges from August 31st, and then it does the end of the month. So the red is August 31st, September is green, October is blue, the white is November, the brown is December, and the gray is January last week. So you can see quite a lot of progress has been made. The top line is 100%. We have some still sitting at 0, which is very unfortunate. So we'd like to get these all across, get a gray line up to the top, and they are going to be hopefully finished up no later than the end of February. For support materials submitted, it's the same thing. You can see that there's a few councils that are very, very low. This is different than the scorecards, so if we have 21 documents already, you'll be marked at 100%. But if we don't, you're going to be holding it down. With each property holding 21 spots, it does break it down quite a bit further than the overall scorecard. So if you have a vacant lot property, it's going to raise the stats quite a bit because there's not a lot required. But if you have a full-on Scout reserve and you haven't submitted anything, you're going to be dragging that council down. So after I show those stats, I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, well, how do we improve these? These stats are sent to the board of directors on a regular basis, so they are very aware of what's outstanding still. They were due 5 months ago on August 31st. 2016. So what you can do is set up a meeting with your operations manager. They will go through what you're missing and make sure that you can get everything submitted. If you could do this before the middle of February, then by the end of February we should reach 100% compliance. Your next scorecard for 2016-2017 is due on April 30th, 2017, and this is to be done in your workbook. Originally, we did do this in August, but we found too much is due around that date, so we have set a standard date that will not change year to year. This gives opportunities to get into properties that you need the ice for. It also gives you the opportunity to get things done before a summer rush. It's near the end of a school year, so things should be starting to slow down, but it's before that last few weeks of a rush. So we found it to be a good time. You can start it as soon as February 1st, and we will be collecting the data. The operations managers will be May 1st, first thing in the morning. We'll be pulling these workbooks down and saving what is in them. So any yearly inspections that were due, such as your fire, chimney, tank, water, kitchen, washrooms, these are due before May 1st, so the last one was completed before May 1st, 2016. You will need to submit these to your OneDrive folder or email them to us. And any changes to the procedures should be noted, so any key changes, key holder changes, committee members, if you got new tanks, these need to be changed. So after you've completed this scorecard, it's not going to change. So if you spend 3 hours on it, next year you might only have to spend 10 minutes going through if you know nothing has changed, just making sure. If you submit this and finish it before April 30th, it would be greatly appreciated, and it's going to be quicker to get done. So just send an email to your operations manager if you get ahead of the game and you can finish it. So as I was just saying, if you can get it done before April 30th, your operations manager is going to be very happy. It's less of a rush for them. If you haven't accessed your OneDrive folder and email, you need to do so. So make sure to contact properties@scouts.ca or your operations manager for your password and then the instructions. There's also the training video on how to use these items, so they will guide you through how to add, remove documents, edit your workbook, and navigate around these processes. I'm going to walk you through completing the scorecard so that everybody knows how to complete it and what's expected. So when you're in your OneDrive, you're going to open up your workbook and put it in edit mode like you normally would for any other documents. If you're not sure how to do this, please watch the webinar which explains how to do all this stuff. This is the first quarterly webinar. So you're going to go to the scorecard tab. You can see that if there's any other scorecards completed, they will be in here for your reference. You can click on them and scroll through. At the top of the scorecard, you can see the property, the address, council, and contacts. If this is not filled in, make sure to go to your Essential Information tab and fill this information in. So each question has a drop-down menu, and these are the options you are to use. As soon as you type something else in, it's going to override those. So please do not type anything else in. So the first question is the ownership status of the property. You're going to go through and select it. It's out of leased, owned, usage, permit, or other. If it's other, please specify in the notes section. For the 2015-2016 scorecards, you were required to submit the ownership documents or the lease documents. If there's been a change, such as a lease renewal, can you please provide the new document? The next questions are about the business structure and the documents, usage agreements, insurance, and committees. So the next question are all contracts, agreements, and legal documents in place signed by the legal authorized agents of Scouts Canada? The legal authorized agents are an executive director, a council executive director, an operations manager, or a council commissioner. If there is a lease agreement, it does need to be approved by the National Property Committee, so just make sure the operations managers are aware if any leases are coming due. So either select yes or no, and this is from the drop-down menu. You left click and select it with left clicking. Does the property have property insurance in place? So all properties are required to have insurance in place if they have structures. This is such as a bunkhouse, a hall. So you either select yes, policy submitted, no, there's no buildings, or no, we need to get insurance. The policy should be submitted each year if it's renewed. You can upload that to your OneDrive account. If you notice that some of these options are cut off, you can drag down the box on the left-hand side and it will expand it. For environmental insurance, you should be looking into this if there's any environmental acts in the area, if there's any issues such as fish and wildlife, if you have any fuel tanks on the property that could cause leaks, if you're in a flooding zone. So you just go through, there's yes, policy submitted, no, there's no risk, or no, you need insurance. So I would select no risk because we have no environmental issues and no fuel tanks. If the property has a committee in place, you're going to select yes or no. If it has changed, you were required to provide the names and the roles last year. If it's changed, please email us and let us know. If the property has an appointed hired contact person, it's either a yes or no question. If there's a key control policy in effect, yes, you have to attach the document if it's changed from last year. No, if it's being in process, please provide a date that you are expected this to be completed at. And no, there's no lock. So if it's vacant land, there's no gates, that's what you would choose. Does the property use an established booking process? There's different options here. You can either choose yes, group, area, or council, no, it's in process of being done, or no, there's never any bookings. Are all organizational hold harmless and indemnification agreements duly completed by non-scouting users? So this is if you have a third-party group. The organizational hold harmless and indemnification agreement is basically it would be taking place of a waiver or saying that we'll cover our risks if they cover theirs. If you need a copy of these and you've never seen one or you want to discuss, please contact me. Are all certificates of liability insurance duly completed by non-scouting organizations? So when they have these agreements, they do need to provide a copy of their insurance. Again, if you have any questions, please contact me. There is an option if you don't have any third-party groups to select no non-scouting organizations that come. Is the property free of current or known pending legal regulatory proceedings? So if you have a water issue right now and you've been served a document, or if there's a land dispute and you've been served any documents, select yes. If not, select no because it's not free. If it is free of anything and you don't know of anything, press yes. If it is not free, please provide legal representative contact information so we can have this on record. So is the property free of any communication indicating activities on the property have or may result in environmental liability at another location? So if a fuel leak has gone into another property, you need to note this. So then we get into the property and the building section of it. First question, is the property vacant land? It's either a yes or no question. Vacant land means there's no standing structures. If you have an outhouse on it, it's not vacant land. The next question, is the property visited more than every 6 months? It's a yes or no question. If the property isn't visited, have you made steps to mitigate liability and damages? So do you have locks on gates? Do you have signs saying private property, no hunting? It's either a yes or no. Have the mitigating steps been checked on in the current scouting year and confirmed to be still in place? So we ask that all properties be at least checked on twice a year, so this is every 6 months. Next question is, does the property contain any buildings? So you're just going to choose yes or no. And then beside here, you're going to put the number of standing buildings. So you can just type in. If you want to go and explain what those buildings are, that's great too. So you can do that. Do all buildings show safe construction? So we understand that you're not an engineer, but this means that if you walk in the building and you can't see any holes in the floors or the ceiling, if you know that a wall's not going to buckle, you can choose yes. You can also choose no, no buildings, and no, the plans are to be submitted, and this is how you are going to be fixing it. You also need to make sure that if it isn't safe, indicate what the mitigating steps are. So if the building's locked up, if the building's boarded up, if you have sign up, if you have caution tape, just indicate these so we know what's in place. Did the buildings receive regular maintenance? So do you walk around? Do you just repair any windows or doors that need to be repaired? Is there a weekly, monthly checklist? So same thing, yes, no, no buildings, or no. Do buildings have a maintenance log completed? So we aren't looking for a 10-page document. We're just looking for a simple chart that says the date, the issue, and who came in and fixed it, and if it's completed. Also, if you attach any receipts. This is more for future knowledge, so if you're no longer in the role and it needs to be passed on and something arises 10 years later, we have a maintenance log. If you haven't had one started, this is the 3rd year. It's been asked every year, and we've been following up to make sure. Last year, everybody was followed up on. If it was an issue, it wasn't resolved until it was started, so this should all be yes. But if you don't have any buildings, you can choose no buildings. And if it's being developed, we'd like to see an exam or a copy of it this year because it is the 3rd year. Are a copy of all permits and contracts related to construction and maintenance given to the council office for file? So this is really a lot of this has to do with your finances, but also it would be helpful to have a copy of this maintenance log submitted at the same time if you attach the receipts to it. Are electrical wiring, installation, and operations compliant with local regulations? So there's a few options here. There's yes, no needs maintenance, and no grandfathered in. So if you don't have electricity, select yes because you are compliant. If there is no, can you please tell us the mitigating steps to prevent access to this building and the plan to get this completed? And if you are grandfathered in, can you please let us know how so that falls into your category? Does the property have sleeping accommodations? It's either a yes or no answer. So if it's a tent site, that's fine. You can select no. But if you have bunk beds, then you need to select yes. Are sleeping accommodations compliant with the footage per occupant requirement as per the local health regulation? So if you have a fire inspection or a public health inspection, they would deem this, but you can also find this on their websites. So there's yes, no, no sleeping, or no plan to be submitted on how you're going to fix that. Are bunks compliant with rails and safety rules as per Scouts Canada directive? If you need more information on this, please contact myself, and Safe Scouting has this information as well. So you can say yes, no, no bunks, or plan to be submitted. Are all available telephones in working order? It's a yes, no telephones, or plan to be submitted. Is all appropriate signage posted on the property? So if it's private property, no trespassing. You can have Scouts Canada sign up. Are all security systems tested per operational guidelines? You can say yes, no plans to be submitted, and no, no security systems. Have all chimneys for stoves and fireplaces been inspected within the last 12 months by a certified technician? This is the full wet inspection, not a chimney cleaning. So you can either choose yes, no to be booked, or no chimney. If it's to be booked, we want to see a date within 2 weeks of this selection. So I'll choose no chimney. Now you can see here there's last inspection date and next inspection date. This last inspection date is pulled from your essential information. So if you know that you had one but for some reason it's blank, go back to your essential information and fill it in the chimney area. So for me, I'm going to put not needed again. Are all washrooms inspected by a local health inspector as per local regulations? Public health would deem if this is necessary. So there's a yes, no, not required, no to be booked, and no, no washrooms. So for myself, I choose no, it's not required because public health does not require this. And again, I'm going to put not needed. This is pulled from the essential informations. If necessary, is there a KIBO or outhouse inspection and pumping schedule in place and followed? So it's either a yes, no to be done, or no, there's no KIBO. Is the waste storage in a designated location within the property? It's a yes or no question. Does the property receive waste management services from a third-party provider? So if it is, part of last year's support documents were the contract or terms and conditions. If that has changed, please submit that. Are the grounds, so the parking lots, walkways, stairs, bridges, inspected annually by a local property manager? So yes or no. Are access paths to buildings clear of obstructions and necessary lighting in good operational condition? So either yes, no paths, need repairs, or no hydro. Are all property staff compliant with occupational health and safety legislation? So there's a yes, no, no staff, or a no. If it is no, please provide a plan for that. If you have a training date booked, or if you're looking to raise money for the training. Are hazardous materials stored in accordance with the WHMIS requirement? Yes, no, there's no materials, or no. If you need the WHMIS requirement, this can be found online, or you can contact myself and I can give you the resources. Have material safety data sheets been posted where hazardous products are in use? So same thing, yes, no, no materials, or no. If you need a copy of these sheets, please let me know. Are any and all surplus supplies at year-end inventoried and costing submitted to Operations Manager? So if you have any questions of this, contact your operations manager. I know it's different council to council, so they'll be able to guide you. So you can say yes, no, no supplies, or no. Has the inventory of building contents and equipment, facility, and program been completed within the last 12 months? So this would be you going through and recording how many desks, chairs, tables, dish sets, kitchen utensils, bunks, mattresses, canoes, kayaks, any tanks. So either yes, no, no supplies, or no. Has the inventory entered at year-end using the established electronic process? So there's a few ways you can do this. There's a form that is being developed right now that we are going to be using for a website listing. So I'm sure you could use that as well. Contact your local council executive director about their council standards. So when we get into emergency preparedness, these items are more for a liability standpoint. So for emergency preparedness, has the property had a fire inspection conducted by a licensed inspector in the last 12 months? So the only way this isn't required is if you have no sleeping buildings and no halls. So if you have a standing dining hall or a meeting hall, you need to have this done as well. Even if it's in an old house, you still need to have it because we are providing public services. And it needs to be within 12 months. It needs to be either by a fire marshal or a third party. So you can see there's either yes, no, no buildings that are required, and no. So it pulls the last inspection date. If for some reason you see numbers, it's just the code for the number. So at the top here, there's a number format option. Just drop it down and select short date and it'll change. The next inspection date, you enter it in. Obviously the last one, it's pulled from the essential information. So if I know the next one is, for example, on October 31st, 2016, it's going to populate into there. Does the property have the following equipment in place which is inspected and recorded in a log? So this one is purposely blank, you can leave it. So then we get into smoke detectors, CO detectors, and fire extinguishers. CO detectors are anywhere there's a chimney and sleeping quarters. Same with smoke detectors. The only way this isn't is if there's no closed buildings. We would say fire extinguishers you should always have on site, especially if there is a fireplace. You can see later in the webinar that we have some great prices for smoke detectors and CO detectors, and we are going to be doing bulk orders on these, so stay tuned for more information on that. Does the property have an emergency plan which speaks to a fire response, evacuation, and crisis plan? So what this is if there is a fire or if there's someone who's lost, any medical emergencies, we need to know that this is determined already and is posted in the building. So you're going to select yes, no, there's no buildings, or no. If it is no, let us know either why or what the plan is to resolve this. And is the fire response and evacuation plan posted in all buildings? So then you get into forest fire prevention plans. This is basically how you're going to have groups and users prevent forest fires. So fires in pits only, no low-hanging branches, make sure there's no debris around the fireplace, have a shovel and sand, have water. So the only options here are yes, no, or in city limits. And it's the same thing for if it's available to users prior to their arrival. And the only reason it's in city limits is that a city evacuation plan steps in place then. Has the property address been posted inside the main building? This is required unless there's no buildings. Are emergency number posted in the building? Same thing. Is the address posted at the entry to the property? So this can be a 911 sign. If for some reason you don't have an address, for the address inside you can post the GPS coordinates. And for the address at the entry you can post a property sign. Are emergency directions to property and contact phone numbers posted at all fixed phones and available to all users for cell phones? Are the winter procedures in place to address access for emergency vehicles? So this is simply a yes, no, it's closed in the winter, or no. Then we get into the kitchen area. So does the property contain a kitchen or any kitchen appliances? So you can say either yes or no. In our case, it's no. Has the kitchen appliances been inspected by local health inspector as per local regulations in the last 12 months? So public health is going to determine what this is needed for. In Ontario, most locations, it's because there's no industrial kitchen, we don't need an inspection. We aren't providing any food. So the answers are yes, no industrial kitchen, or no, there's no kitchen, or no. Are cold units maintained at required temperatures? So it's the same thing, yes, no cold units, or no. Are food storage facilities maintained in sanitary conditions? Does food storage adequately maintain food at required temperatures as per local health unit requirements? So this is really what public health deems in the area. Is food prep and service conducted in accordance with local health unit requirements? Are best practices for food handling and hand washing posted? Are kitchen and dining area cleanup conducted using practices as per local health unit requirements? So that's all for kitchen. For property vehicles, we use this for our insurance renewal for liability, so it is very important it's filled in properly. So does the property have any vehicles? It's either a yes or no answer. If it is yes, we need the year, make, models of the vehicles and trailers and a summary of what they're used for. So if it's a trailer that's not going to leave the property ever, it's just for storage, let us know that. If the vehicles are licensed, it's a yes, a no, no vehicles, or they're not. Are vehicles insured in accordance with local regulations? We need to make sure we have an insurance policy. If it's the same as last year, that's fine. Are drivers of property-owned vehicles and duly licensed under local motor vehicle regulations? So we need a copy of the driver's abstract and driver's license at the council office. Are drivers included in the vehicle insurance policy and approved by the operations manager? Are vehicles and large property equipment such as tractors kept in good working order? And then the other one is the two-wheeled and four-wheeled vehicles, such as ATVs, quads, and golf carts. Are there procedures in place? Then we get into the watercraft. So does the property own any canoes? So it's either a yes or no for canoes, kayaks, sailboats, rowboats, and boats with motors. For the canoes, kayaks, sailboats, and rowboats, you're going to list the number. So we have the liability risks in the insurance renewal. Any boats with motors, we need a description and the size, as well as any other details you can provide. For the storage tank, this is referring to fuel storage, so propane fuel. Are there any storage tanks on the property? If it is yes, you need to list the number, the capacity, and what they hold. This is also for the insurance renewal. Has a walkthrough of the property been conducted to locate any underground and above ground storage tanks? This is a yes or no question. When tanks are refilled, is a certified technician inspecting the tanks at the time of delivery? Has the property had a fully licensed inspection in the last 10 years of the tanks on the property? This is not your regular refill inspection. This is a separate one. It happens every 10 years. Last inspection date is pulled from the essential information. Are existing underground storage tanks equipped with leak detection or secondary containment units? Are existing underground storage tanks tested for leaks in accordance with local regulations? Have leaks, spill, or discharge from underground or above ground tanks been addressed in accordance with local regulations? So there's either a yes and no tanks, none have happened, or no. We get into the water, and the first question is, does the property have potable drinking water? So it's either a yes or no. Has the potable water tested in accordance with local government regulations? So it's either yes, no, no water, or yes. If it's city water, just select yes. Is the potable water tested through a third-party laboratory? So yes, no, no water. And indicate the name of the lab so we can see if you were doing it, if it's a third party. Have all abandoned wells been capped in accordance with the local regulations? Yes, no, no wells, or no. Is all water and waste disposal conducted with minimal impact on the environment? Yes, no, no water, or no. Then we get into the environmental acts, and this is really the last section of the whole scorecard. Are there any, does the property have any environmental acts that apply within? So it's either yes or no. Have appropriate steps been established in order to monitor these acts? So either yes, no, no acts apply, or no, and this is going to be the standard acts or answers throughout the whole thing. So any ecologically sensitive areas, appropriate actions, any ecologically sensitive areas on neighboring, preventive spills, misuse of hazardous materials. Areas surrounding hazardous materials storage free of any signs of leakage, spill, discharge, or hazardous materials waste generated by property properly handled and disposed of at an approved disposal site. Does the property have a nature and environmental policy in place? Is the above policy available to users prior to arrival? To the best of your knowledge, is the property aware of any present environmental problems on adjacent properties? So if you aren't sure, that's fine. It's to the best of your knowledge. Is the property free of dumping areas such as pits, ponds, or lagoons for waste or abandoned equipment? To the best of your knowledge, are there any landfills, dumps, or other waste disposal facilities adjacent to the property? And to the best of your knowledge, are there any adjacent property facilities such as gas stations, chemical plants, bulk storage, tanks, and manufacturing plants? And I'm going to indicate there's a gas station down the road. Then you just indicate who completed it, and your scorecard is completed for the year. After this, once you have completed it, you don't need to redo it next year. If nothing has changed, you just leave it. If you finish this before April 30th, please let the operations manager know they can go ahead and pull this information and start assessing it. It is due midnight, April 30th to the workbook to be completed May 1st. First thing in the morning, the operations managers will be pulling these down and assessing the information that is there. As part of the new fire safety inspections and safety requirements across Canada, I reached out to the Fire Marshal's Public Fire Safety Council at Fire Safety Canada, and they've agreed to give Scouts Canada fire safety equipment at the same price they do for the fire halls across the country. So we're saving a lot of money with them. We can put in bulk orders, so I'm going to be doing two, one for May 1st and one for September 1st. These will correspond with the spring and fall, and it might be good to have one or two extra on location. So I just went through and compared some prices. So you can see the savings are very substantial. For a smoke detector, just a basic 4-inch with the hush button and the test button, and it's battery operated, we're looking at about $6.06. For a CO detector with the battery operated, about $19.08. And for the combination fire and CO detectors, battery operated, we're looking at about $26.25. So we're saving about $20 on everything. For shipping costs, it's really going to depend on how many we have. What we will be doing is, if we have a large amount, we'll be doing it to the service centers, and if not, we will be doing it by One Scouts. It shouldn't cost more than $1 per unit for everybody, so get in your orders to properties@scouts.ca before May 1st and September 1st. The orders will be placed on those dates at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then after that, what we will be doing is invoicing back the properties specifically, and you can pay the invoices for them. So this should provide quite a bit of savings across the year if you change them twice. If you don't change them and you just need some extra units on hand, it's a great opportunity to grab some. We also have deals on batteries if we need to, so contact myself. You're not saving a great price on batteries, so you're better off buying them like you normally would and having some extras on location. So the final part of tonight, I just wanted to talk about our next phase projects that are underway. I'm going to be working with programs, and we're going to create a detailed inventory sheet. It's going to be a one-time document that you can keep on your OneDrive and update accordingly. So what we're hoping to pull from this is we're going to get very detailed size, capacity, what items and inventory you have available for usage. It's going to increase the usage in advertising in your area because we're going to have these listed on the website. And what groups are going to be able to do is find what properties host what they want to do. So if you have an archery lane and a group's looking for a wilderness cabin with archery capabilities, they're going to know. And we're going to eventually tie in some attractions nearby that we have facility usage agreements with. So if we have a vertical climbing wall facility, we can tie this in a mapped area, so you know within 50 kilometers you can go to this facility. We're going to also list these on the website, so that's increased advertising for you that you don't have to pay for. It's going to be all included, and it's going to be a Canada-wide listing. That being said, this can't happen unless your scorecards are completed and all the safety requirements are met. Thanks everyone for attending and sitting through the webinar with us. Our next webinar is going to be on budgeting and fundraising for the property and different methods you could use, growing your potential. If you have any further questions, feel free to email myself at properties@scouts.ca or your local operations manager, and we'll be happy to walk you through any questions you have.
I see wasteful water practices throughout the Great Lakes Basin, historians will look back upon with scorn. I see water, clear, cold, luscious water, that most see the value of taking, and few see the value of leaving. I see millions upon millions of Great Lakes residents who underestimate the struggle that awaits them. Today, when I stand on the